Finally. We're finally live, Pete. Good night.
Yeah. Hi.
Could it have taken any longer? Let's see. Instagram. Oh. Okay. We are live. Or are we Memorex? All right, did it right.
No, mulukitebe.
Okay, once 2007.
Are you still doing something? Do I need to shut up?
No, now I'm good.
Oh,
Except I
all
pet
right.
the dog and I ended up with dog hair all over my face.
Why do you have a dog that sheds as much as it does? We should litigate that sometime.
That's a great question, Pete. One.
You know what I pick up around the house all the time from my dog?
Poop.
Yeah, that's about it. I do that because it's raining and he doesn't like to go outside.
Oh.
He holds our climate against us. But not dog hair. Doesn't shed. I'm telling you, wave of the future. Dogs that don't shed. It's like a GMO dog.
My dog sheds way too much.
Yeah.
Like I walk around the house with my dustbuster. Like I try to do it daily just because there's constant little piles and tufts. And if you don't, then they just get bigger and bigger. And next thing you know, you have like these things that look like rabbits running down your hallway.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's that and your scorpion hammer and black light. Do you have like a utility belt?
I need one.
For your dustbuster and your hammer and your black light and what else? There's got to be something.
That's a good start. That's a good start.
Definitely your soda stream. It's going to clip on there.
Oh man.
Let's do a podcast.
Let's I cannot wait to start this with you.
I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to the next reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Once is over. Hanky panky? It won't be for hanky panky. When's the last time you heard hanky panky in a movie? It couldn't be often enough. I'm telling you.
It would probably have been Madonna singing her hanky panky song in Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
From Dick Tracy to this and then never again.
And never again. Yeah. Hi, how are you? We're on a new series. It's my series. It's my series all alone. Mine.
You picked this. We were talking about John Carney's. This is the John Carney's Streetwise Musicals series. And we were talking about Once, Begin Again, and Sing Street.
Yeah.
Why this series? What's your draw to Carney and these musicals of his?
I'm fascinated by movies that treat music as the actual drama, right? Music making as the actual drama. You know, we did the movies of Stars is Born. Stars is Born. It's not a decoration in these movies, but it's the thing itself. And I think John Carney's first three movies, I'll say first three because I haven't seen Fiona and Son.
Flora,
right. Flora. Well, Fiona was Flora's friend.
Her sister she doesn't like to talk about.
Yeah, she's hardly in the movie. You won't even recognize her. Anyway, John Carney's his first three movies that we are going to be talking about, I think he really celebrates the act of watching people create together and finds that inherently compelling. And I like the ride that I get to take with him. It's this, you know, in this movie in particular, the incredible standout scene for me is the hesitant first attempt at making music together. And we'll talk about that. I think this movie really capitalizes on that in an intimate and beautiful way. And it's also low budget, you know, a lot of handheld. It's this, you know, putting musicians on stages or on screen as actors in some cases for the first time, and getting to then see him refine his conceit, refine this concept and skill over the course of the following two movies, I think will be really fun.
Yeah, and I agree, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. And and just the idea of this as a musical, right? Like this type of story fitting into the musical genre, because it's a little different in that it's actually people just performing music as opposed to we're just going to be singing all the time. And sometimes it's a song in front of people. Sometimes we're just singing our emotions and everything. And there's a lot of that you can still read in this, the way that songs play into what they're actually, what they're actually feeling and saying, but how in so many ways it's a story of buskers and, wanting to actually turn into a musical career. So I think that's what's interesting about it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the series and what John Carney brings to it. So with that,
you had seen all of these, right?
I had seen these 3 films, yes.
Okay. And you like them generally, right? I don't have to be I'm not holding out for a surprise.
No, I generally like them.
Okay.
We'll talk about it each as we go. Like, I think, I don't think I saw any of these in the theater. So that's an interesting element to it that I think will be, we can include as part of the conversation as we go.
Yeah, sure. Where would you like to start?
Well, I was going to say, where do you want to start?
I have ideas.
Should we start with our initial thoughts?
Yeah, let's do that. I think maybe we've already had them. The initial thoughts are, I think this movie is slower than I remembered in terms of its actual story, and that is okay with me. I remember much more. My memory of it is, there's much more sort of narrative in it than there is. It's a very simple story, and I think for the simple story that it is, its hour 26-minute runtime is kind of perfect. I like these characters very much. Part of the reason I like them is because they look a little bit uncomfortable on camera. And I like the fact that I get to watch them gain confidence along with them. That's sort of the headcanon I'm playing with, to the point where we get to see their studio experience and that level of sort of excitement and long nights and all of that. I feel like I'm right there with them. It is partly that, jiggly monkey shaky cam that we get with the handheld. It invites me into the scene. I think this movie captures that level of intimacy and brings me right along in a great way.
I really feel very much the same as you do when I revisited this. I before I started it, I watched one of the behind the scenes on the Blu-ray that was about making a musical like this. And
it's much more dynamic watching the behind the scenes stuff.
Well, one of the comments that Glenn Hansard said is that he seemed to remember that the movie was 60% music. And I was like, interesting. And then when it started, I'm like, wow, he really was right. Like, they're just always singing. There's always another song to sing. And it's not, as I said earlier, it's not a musical where I'm singing about the journey that I'm on and we're watching a montage as we go across the fields and the fjords. No, we're not doing that here. This is just like, I'm going to sing a song, and now we're going to see her sing a song. And there's a lot of that. And there is a very sweet story at the heart of it. This journey between guy and girl that we have very conveniently not named, although inconvenient when it comes to a point at the end where he's talking to her mother and he says, "Is herself home?" I was like,
no, let's not do that.
That's a reach when you're going so far as to not name your characters and you have to say something like that. No.
Yeah, I don't care for it.
but otherwise, I'm like, I know you're Irish, but I think you could use.
I think there are some names. Yeah, I could get. Yeah,
but I liked the simplicity of the story, and I think it was a bit of a surprise though as I rewatched this, going, wow, it was a lot simpler than I remember.
A lot simpler. But it was a charmer, and I think where once I get my head back in the frame that I think the movie would like to invite me into, which is very much about the conceit that we're going to be a part of creating music. And it starts on the street and it goes to the studio and it leads through potential and potential opportunity. I find that experience electrifying. The experience, the scenes where we get to see them creating music, for me personally, is electrifying. And I recognize I may be an island, and that others may find this movie boring, but I love the experiences that I've had in studios recording music, and this movie takes me back there to that point of camaraderie and cooperation and collaboration. And I think this movie, because both of these people do this professionally, it was easy, I think, for them to give me that sort of naturalistic emotion. They had done it before. They were doing it. John Carney was the bass player for the band that is in this movie 10 years or 15 years prior. Like, they all knew each other and their experience of making music together. And I think you could feel that on screen.
I think that's a great point. The fact that, and John Carney talked about this, the fact that he initially was trying to find actors to play the roles, actors who could hopefully sing. And in the end, he realized what he needed to do is go with singers who could, hopefully act a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's where he went. And he ended up casting, as you said, these people. I think Glenn Hansard is who he had worked with. And Glenn had known Marketa Irglova from some other musical stuff that they had been involved in together, and recommended her. My understanding is she was cast in the film at a point when John Carney, whose previous film had starred Cillian Murphy.
Yes.
And Cillian Murphy was attached to this. And when he told Cillian Murphy that he was going to bring Marketa on to play the part of Girl, he was a little hesitant. It sounds like Cillian Murphy was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable performing opposite somebody who's never acted before, and ended up pulling out of the film. They lost some of their funding. And then he realized that at that point, he's just like, Glenn is who I really need to go with. I need to go with someone who has the voice.
And who had written the songs.
And who had written the songs, exactly.
Glenn had been hired to write the songs, so it just made sense. At that time, the film was originally called Busker, which I think is cute.
Which is, just for people who aren't familiar with buskers, are street performers, street singers stuff, right? Yeah. Which we see him doing quite a bit.
He was doing most of the film. The other interesting thing, because these guys knew each other, Carney and Hansard, because they were in the band together, the Frames, in the early 90s. Hansard, I was watching a Sam Jones interview with Hansard, who says, this was very close to my story, right? My mom and I went to the bank to get the cash to record my demo in the studio that this movie is filmed in. That's the same studio. And he said, I told him, I said, I'm not going to do it. It's too close to my story, and I'm a basket case. I'm a terrible actor. He says, no, you're not a terrible actor. He says, okay, but if I'm a bad actor, you have to tell me. Don't let me embarrass myself. He said, I can't ruin your reputation. I don't want to ruin the Frames' reputation. And so you have to tell me. And I think it worked out really, really well. I think Glenn Hansard is a fine actor here. He's also a fine actor in The Commitments, which is stunningly a movie we haven't talked about on this show. And he plays, one of the musicians in the band, and he's great. He has not done very much stuff because he's primarily a musician.
Yeah.
But he's just damn delightful as this singer-songwriter busker character. I think he really plays it. Interestingly, the girl storyline does not come from his life. That comes from Carney's life. He had the experience with someone that was married and had a child and all of those things, and will they, won't they, their way to the end of scene. but still a lovely sort of ripped from life little experience.
Yeah, and I think I mean, really, that's what you need in a story like this, right?
Yeah.
You just need something simple so that you can give these non-actors, but musicians, time to perform their music, and enough to provide some emotion in the part, but not too much emotion. Like, and that's something that, like, at one point Glenn actually told or said that John told him, he's like, you're putting a little too much into it. It needs to be less than that. And that helps when it's such a subtle amount of acting that people need to do. It just gives them the chance to kind of just be themselves. And I think because they had kind of lived in this world so much, I think it came very naturally for them. And it wasn't overwritten. It just it goes at just the right level to give us what we need out of it.
I think there are those who might argue it's underwritten. For me, it feels just about right. I want to talk about that central scene for me, which is the scene in the Billy's music shop.
Central scene, which is actually like 10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Like, so it's really like our
it peaks.
That's our it peaks and then
early.
It's a slow decline. Yeah.
This sequence for me is one that captures the experience of singing with someone for the first time as authentically as I have ever seen it on screen. The way Hansard talks about it, he says we're just reliving in that scene exactly the sequence that happened when I introduced Marquetta to this song. We were obviously not filming at that point, but it was so easy to jump back to that moment because you just remember as a musician what it feels like, how electric it is the first time you introduce a song to somebody and they're able to read ahead enough to sing with you and make it sound so alive and discovered. And for me, that was an incredibly powerful, quiet little scene of discovery that I can't like. It's why I wanted to talk about this movie. Was that scene in the music shop? What'd you think of that?
Well, I mean, I love it. It's a great scene. I have a question though, and I guess this goes to my not understanding all of this completely, but that song, both Hansard and Erglova ended up winning a lot of awards for that song. So my understanding was that she co-wrote it with him. Did she not?
I think it goes back to he had written pretty much what he had written in the music shop, and she came in and added all of her stuff, and that gets a co-writer credit.
Oh, I see. So we're literally watching essentially kind of the theoretical process of how they co-wrote this song together. So he brought the guitar tune and lyrics, and she came on and brought in all the
piano and harmonies and everything else.
I see. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Then that makes sense. I love it. It's such I rewatched that scene twice because I just think it plays so well. It's such a perfect song for the way that these two are falling in love, falling for each other in a way that's never going to be requited. Like it just, it plays so perfectly. And it the way that it builds and it discovers, like we see them kind of discovering the strengths in what each other does and how to work off of that and how to play with that. And I, as somebody who's, I mean, I've taken piano lessons, but I've never really...
You play the piano. I've taken piano lessons. Come on.
But I've never played in anything with other people. Like it's just other than I've never played in anything like you have. Like you've been in situations where you're with a lot of other musical people all doing stuff together. I basically look at notes on a page and try to bang it out correctly. Like that's my extent. And so it's very different, and it's exciting to see these two people figuring all of that out. And I can still appreciate that, translating into other spaces, like working on scripts or things like that with other people and ideas and stuff. So it's that idea of that creative ideation that they're enjoying so much right here. And it comes across so well. And I love the fact it's such a small moment, but I love the fact that we get one cutaway late in the whole performance to Billy. Just as he's listening and just a little smile on his face.
It's like doing a crossword or something.
Yeah, I'm just like, that was, I don't know, it made it even more touching to me that, like, you know, he's picking up on it.
The music store is Walton's Music Shop in Dublin, and this one just little note I find really amusing. Apparently, the shop owner, first of all, he banned people ever from playing Falling Slowly on the piano in his store. He's like, I'm so damn sick of that song. But also, he sold that piano 4 times because it was the piano that was sitting right there where they filmed it. People would come in, they're like, oh, that's the piano I want. He would sell it and then order the same piano to replace it. And people would come in and be like, well, that's the piano. I want that piano. And he would sell it. They just kept coming in. That I find particularly subversive on, I'll say Billy's part. I don't think it was actually Billy, but
if they had just watched the movie, they would realize that it's now in her apartment.
Right. Well, that wasn't the same piano.
Well, it wasn't.
She was playing on a grand, on a baby grand.
Oh, I thought the baby. I guess I didn't remember it being a baby grand. For some reason, I thought it was the stand-up piano, and the baby grand was in that secret room in the studio. But maybe you're right.
There were multiple grands in there, but there was no way they would have been able to shoot over her because they have some angles where they're shooting through the piano.
I was so taken by the music, I wasn't looking at the piano.
As you should have been. I'm the one who should be scolded here. Clearly, I wasn't invested enough in the moment.
No, clearly you were, because you knew all of that.
Okay. The relationship that these two have, I think, is the other piece that is really pretty special. First of all, let's just say out loud, she was 17 when she was introduced to Carney.
I thought about that a lot as I was watching this. I'm like, wait a minute. So she was 15 when she got pregnant and married?
Yeah, that's like, a rough part of the story.
14 because she had the baby when she was 15. Like there were some questions. Let's just say I had questions about.
Well, I don't think she was playing 17. She was playing slightly older. Do you think they said her age in the film as 17?
No, but I definitely noticed she looked really young.
Yes,
as I looked at her, I'm like, she is a young woman here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So very young mother, clearly.
Very young mother. But I was really moved by just how capable she is as an actor in this thing. I believed her. Did it feel like a kind of an early first performance? Yeah. But was I sold on who she was? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that we're probably in the same camp with that. I think that there's an innocence to how she plays her character. And I think also it helps that she's just a very straightforward and direct character in general. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that ended up helping the performance because, when she's just irritated with him, she's just like, F that, I got to go. And she's just out the door. Like, she's just moves on and doesn't linger in anything emotional ever, which I think works quite well. And so, I think at some point he had, I think Carney had recognized that by ending up casting this person who is from the Czech Republic to play the part, it brought something that I think he said, like he would never have gotten if he had just cast somebody from Ireland. It creates this sense of another space, in the story, and suddenly she feels kind of like she's separated anyway. And he thought it playing well that she actually isn't a local.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's kind of a major part of our of the breakup in the narrative. Like, thank God we go to, as you say, another place. Thank God we meet the yahoos that come in to learn how to speak English from a soap opera on TV. Like, thank God we have some of that texture, because the movie demands some more texture than we have from just the two of them.
Yeah, yeah. It plays nicely, and I think also it gives you these moments that, like, I mean, they don't translate any of the Czech. Like, we don't get subtitles of the Czech for any of it. It's just, it is what it is. If you understand Czech, I guess then you get the benefit. But there's a moment when they've taken his dad's motorcycle out for a ride, and they're out on a hill, and he's kind of doing some, like, how do you say this in Czech? How do you say ocean? How do you say, do you love him in Czech? And when he asked that, do you love him? Her response apparently in unsubtitled Czech is, no, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't know Czech. And so he's just like, he just assumes no. And so he's just like, oh, okay, without realizing that. And I think that is so clever. But it's also interesting, and I don't know, maybe I'm a little pissed at Carney for not giving us a little clue, because we don't get to know what it means either. Like, I only figured it out because I was reading about it online, but I'm like, oh, okay, that's a nice little note that we have in there, that she gives him a clue without actually having to reveal anything.
Okay, but stay with me here, because I think you're dancing on one of the great discomforts of the movie that we just mentioned, the fact that she was 17 and he was 37. Yeah. If we knew that she was saying, I love you, it changes the entire texture of their relationship. If he knows that she's saying, I love you, right? Then it becomes Lolita.
Well,
don't you think?
I don't think it's difficult to go that far, because I mean, geez, she's a mother already. You know, she has a baby at home.
Yeah,
she has
that's a good point. It's not like, what are you protecting her from?
Yeah, she's not still in middle school or something like that.
Yeah,
right. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, when you know their ages, the whole thing is a lot grosser. But I think you're right. I don't think we have the movie play the way it does if he knows what she said. Like, I don't think there. Yeah. I think that it's harder for him to probably seriously ask her to be part of the band and all of that, like, because he probably would just want to be with her, and it's just it recontextualizes so much of the story. And so I think it really needs to not be something that is verbalized.
Yeah. It is interesting, like, because we do know their ages, and because we do know that they were working together outside of the film as music. They were performing together, they were writing together, they were partners, and they continued to do so. And I think that, you know, what an interesting exploration. My understanding from the Sam Jones video, and they did not talk about this at great detail, is that at some point later, the two of them were in a relationship.
Yeah.
That apparently ended.
Right. That, yeah, they did date for a short period after this film, but by 2009, so just a couple years later, he had said they're no longer a couple. And you know, I think it just, you know, he had said it was a very necessary part of our friendship, but I think we both concluded that wasn't what we really wanted to do. So we're not together now. We're just really good friends. So
yeah.
And then I think she's now married somebody in Iceland, and I think she's living in Iceland, citizen of both the Czech Republic and Iceland now. So.
Well, their contributions to the soundtrack are fantastic. If you're into this sort of singer-songwriter vibe, it is great. Carney.
You just totally froze. Totally frozen.
Somebody flushed a toilet in Bismarck and my internet goes down.
Yeah. You're saying, anyway.
This feels like a collaboration between musicians who want to make a movie. And I have a lot of respect for that because Carney, I mean, I think Carney is a fantastic and astute director of music and obviously loves music, loves directing videos, loves directing this kind of stuff. And you can see why he is so attentive to letting the music play. But I also think Tim Fleming's photography, the cinematography behind this, shooting this whole thing on, traditional video cameras, gives it a sense of intimacy that will require a lot more work to make it look great once we're all running 8K systems.
I don't know. You could still watch the crappy films. It exemplifies the crappiness. Like same thing with 28 Days Later. It's like, yes,
boy, you
really
can see the crappiness.
They ended up after the whole drop of Cillian Murphy and changing everything around to go super independent, which, I think John Carney had ended up saying when he found his producers, like that's kind of what he wanted to do anyway. He wanted to make something that felt really low budget, very authentic. And I think also made it more comfortable for Glenn and Marquetta anyway, to not have all this giant equipment, giant lighting gear everywhere they were going. Oftentimes when they were out in the streets, they were shooting on long lenses and just let the actors do their thing out in the streets. And people around them had no idea that a movie was even being filmed there. And they were not necessarily shooting with permits. They were just kind of doing a very run and gun sort of project. And I think they managed to capture more of that authenticity because of that. Like, I think that actually helps when you're working with these actors or these singers who are, acting here. I think that gives them the space they need to just kind of end up feeling more natural anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, to the point where some of the people who dropped money in the guitar case were actual
people,
bystanders, right? That scene, the scene in the store, was one of those scenes that was just shot in one take to capture it and get it done, and they had permission from the store owner for the take, and then get the hell out.
Clearly not the family standing outside the store who are all just like watching, like the camera. They're going from the camera to Marquetta, like, what is going on here? Those little girls.
Yeah, that's one of the perils of shooting unpermitted. You can't close the street.
No, exactly. But it plays fine, and I think that was what was nice to see, that all of that just ended up feeling natural. I think at one point they were talking about how they just wanted them to be feeling extra natural in this space, and so they started Marquetta like 2 blocks away or something to have her walking before Glenn would come running up and catch up with her. And they called her on her cell phone and just like action. Yeah. And so she just started, and she's just walking around selling flowers. I'm like, it's clever to kind of give that sense of space to your actors. I liked that quite a bit.
Did anything, as you think about John Carney, the director, I found myself moved by just how sort of effortless he is at revealing things about our characters in a really natural sort of incremental way, right? For a movie that's so simple, we learn about these characters in a way that is paced sort of perfectly. We learn about his ex and the fact that she left, and we learn about that in one of those great scenes where, in fact, he is singing the plot on the bus. Yeah. So, like, that's something that's hard to capture if you're not someone who is completely in tune with their instrument, right? To be able to just hang out and sing improvisationally, banging out chords on the guitar. We get that. We get her husband, the reveal of her husband, the fact that she was married. We learned that she was a mother before we learned that she's still married. All these little reveals feel so perfectly paced, and I guess I was surprised at how good Carney seems to be at doing that in a film this early in his career.
Yeah, it's Well, and I think that goes to just, again, I think I don't know, we're going back and forth on how little is in this film, because I think that also attributes to why there's so little in this film, right?
Yeah.
It's allowing these subtle moments to just kind of come very naturally, and we kind of slowly discover them as things go along and as it slowly unfolds. Like we realize, oh, he has an ex. These songs are about his ex when he sings, about being a Hoover fixer sucker guy and all of that sort of stuff, which I think is really funny. But the having that song, it I don't know, the way that he chooses to reveal information to her in that moment by song instead of just kind of having a conversation about it, I think also gives us so much about his character. And that's what I found interesting with Carney, is the way that he chose to reveal the character information in such careful ways. Like, I am not somebody who's good at talking about my emotions, but I can sing a little bit about it and why I'm pissed at her and blah, blah, blah. And the little bits and pieces about, like, he has no idea that she has a kid or lives with her mom. She's like, oh, I'll, walk you over to my place. He walks her up and they go in and they're like, this is my daughter. This is my mother. It's like, oh, like, he lets us just have these moments that come in a very natural way. Like, we don't have the big dramatic moment. Like, I have to tell you something before we go upstairs. I have a child. Like, there's none of that. It's just people. And I think that's
It's just life.
It's something that Carney, I hadn't seen this film in a long time, probably since about 2007 or 8. And so I'm curious now, having revisited this, if I'll be able to find those same moments when we go to Begin Again and Sing Street,
Yeah, I mean, I remember principal moments of Begin Again in particular, and context is fuzzy. It'll be interesting. I think I mean, I just going to his sense of story, right? I mean, it's all captured in the end, right? This deliberately ambiguous, not ambiguous ending, which is, I mean, I don't know. Do you feel like the ending, the romantic tension is ambiguous at the end of the film?
I don't, I mean, I think what had to happen happened, right? She's married. Her husband is returning. Like, it sounded like both of their relationships had been over, which is, I think, why they were both in a space to potentially welcome these moments that the two of them had. But we saw he still couldn't let go of Catherine. Like, he is singing a song to a video he edited of footage of her, like that they had shot on their cameras. And so he is still stuck on her. She doesn't sound as stuck on her husband. In fact, it sounds like it was a little rough and he refused to come and stuff like that. But after that conversation, he's decided to move up there and to make good on it. And so, we end up in a place where they've both, decided, I'm going back to my previous relationship. This was never really meant to be, but it was perhaps what they both needed to move forward and heal the broken relationships that they had been in,
That final move where he goes to the piano store and buys her a piano and has it delivered as he leaves, where we have that crane shot that's close on her in their second floor window and then pulls out, and we're looking over the courtyard, people playing, the sun is out, very rare in Dublin, I guess. and meanwhile, he's off, get it on the bus and
on the plane,
heading to London. They both have smiles on their faces. And it feels like that moment we have is a celebration of what it means for an ambiguous relationship to firmly cement itself in the space of a platonic relationship. Like, they are creative, a wonderful creative pair, and they had a dalliance with potential romance, and it didn't work, and they can still be good to each other. and do things that are loving and kind to each other. And I find that as unambiguous as you can get by the end. Like the fact that they are gleefully moving apart to other relationships and with no apparent longing for each other. And I think that is one of the coolest things about this movie.
Well, I think it all boils down to one key moment, and it's the hanky-panky moment, where after this hugely successful time in the studio recording a bunch of songs, the engineer ended up falling in love with their music and put in a lot of extra time to make them sound great and everything. And they're leaving, and the two of them, he's like, "Hey, do you want to come back to my place, for a drink or something?" And she's just like, "No, it's just going to turn into hanky-panky. We both know it. We're both smart adults." It's like, it doesn't have to be hanky-panky. She's like, "Come on." It's very cute. And then, but she agrees finally. She's like, "Okay, I'll come over later." Right? And then she never does. We see him waiting at the end of the day. She has never come. And I think if there's any ambiguousness, it's just in that day of him waiting, thinking that she really intends to come, and then at the end of the day realizing she never intended to come. She was just getting out of that situation, I guess. Or maybe she did kind of intend to come, but then decided, no, I can't do this. Like, I'm not exactly sure if we know if she was lying or if she thought she would and changed her mind,
Yeah, right.
And how did you read it?
For me, I think that probably the inciting incident of her husband telling her that he's coming home happened off camera, or coming to be with her happened off camera.
It happened while they were at the studio, because she tells him that as they're leaving.
Oh, that's a good point. And so, to me, I read it as someone who just, like, she made the decision to, although this was never said, what my sort of narrative brain fills in is that she did it for her daughter, right? Like, she's doing this because she has a commitment to this child, and she wants the child to have two parents, and she's going through those motions, because otherwise she clearly demonstrates she has agency enough to leave her husband in a relationship that isn't working, right? It's not like she couldn't leave and make it official. There's something about it that draws her back in, and if it's not for her relationship, then who's it for? It's probably her daughter. And so I think she made the mature decision to commit to something new.
But did she make it there and lie to him, or do you think that she made it later?
Oh, I think she made it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're probably right, because in everything we've seen of her, she's generally just saying what she feels, and she probably would have just said, "No, it's a bad idea. I gotta go."
I think so.
Yeah.
And hers, she's such an interesting, this movie is really acutely aware of economic reality. Guy obviously is a vacuum repairman with his dad, who busks on the side with a guitar that has far too many holes in it.
I was going to ask you about that, because it's like, is this like, how many guitar players have guitars that are this abused, where they've played so much that they've just completely ended up tearing holes into the wood underneath where you strum? Like, that was
painful. Is what that is. I don't know. I'm not one of those guitar players, but I know they exist. The guitar players who see that kind of road damage as a badge of honor, and maybe frugality, but mostly it's just like this. It goes back to, this machine kills fascists. Like, we're gonna tear up our guitars because it's a sign of the road. And his, I think, is also a sign of the fact that he's not yet a professional musician, and he can't afford to keep his equipment in perfect working order all the time. But it's a part of his sound. Like, at this point, he's writing his music on this guitar that has a certain tone to it because of its brokenness. and that's special to him.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because I was like, well, I'm sure that changes what you're hearing from the guitar, because
For sure.
they're supposed to only have one hole in it, not a whole bunch. Well, and here's another question. Since we're talking about the guitar, this was a question that kind of bugged me, but maybe more guitar players do this than I realize. Why are his guitar strings all uncut? Like, it's just like he's got these, it's like a frayed, beaker head at the end of his guitar with just all of these things sticking off. It's like, do many people do that?
Yeah. It's weird. I don't care for it. I'm a tidy guitar person. Like my guitar has tidy strings. Some guitarists, and this also goes to whether or not you're tuning and detuning your guitar, depending on songs. Like you can change your guitar to drop detuning. You can change, and you're gonna be tuning all around the fret where you might want to keep more string. Not that much string. That's insanity. Like he had an extra 8 inches of string hanging off every fret, every pin. The thing that I think is probably going on is he is just kind of run and gun replacing strings because he's battering that guitar every day. And the guitar itself is, as an instrument of wood, is constantly changing and, swelling and drying out and swelling. And it just needs a lot of retuning, and he's not paying attention to the strings hanging off the edge because he's just going to change them again, in a number of days or weeks. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
So that is definitely the behavior of a guy who plays a guitar professionally with giant holes in it. It breaks my heart a little bit because I've got a dear friend who's a guitarist, and he has the same Takamine guitar that Hansard plays in this, and it is in pristine condition because this is a friend of the show, Dodge. It's in pristine condition because Dodge is the sort of Niles Crane of guitar players. Like, it's always perfect. And I'm looking at Hansard's guitar and I'm thinking that guy what part of him is damaged to the point that he lets that instrument get to that condition. Well, it is a character thing.
But that begs an interesting question. Is that a Hansard thing? Like, is this just, they said, just use your guitar because it has a cool look? Or is that a character thing? And they kind of like crafted this way that this guitar looks for the character of Guy?
That's a really interesting question. It's interesting because, oh man, I don't know. I'm doing some real-time research because I feel like I need to know. Takamine is such an interesting brand because it's like not a brand that you see in movies a lot, right?
Oh, okay.
It's not a common, but usually you see like Martin guitars everywhere. I actually wonder if we're going to see Martin guitars in the next 2 movies. It's like Steinway pianos versus Kurzweil, right? Like it's just an off-brand enough. Given the guerrilla style production, it would not surprise me a lick if Carney didn't go to Hansard and say, "Give me your most charismatic guitar for this movie."
Yeah. Well, hey, I found this on his Wikipedia page. In September 2011, he played at Pearl Jam's 20th anniversary festival, PJ20, at the Alpine Valley Theater outside of East Troy, Wisconsin. Hansard played several guitars, including a very recognizable battered Takamine NP15 acoustic guitar, even sporting a large hole, which he calls the Horse.
That's it. It's his.
So, it's his. Interesting.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Okay. Well, he really enjoys playing with that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. I just as a sidebar, I did the Prince tour twice at Paisley Park, and Prince is widely known to have manufactured custom guitars all over the place. But his favorite guitar is this battered old Warhorse that is in a special case, and it's an acoustic, and it's like yellowed, and you feel like you could buy it for $60 at a starter store, music store. And that was always his favorite guitar to play of all time. And it was, again, it was just like this. It was like all character, no polish. And, I reckon a lot of musicians have a particular favorite starting instrument that gives them a lot of joy. I'll bet this is Hansard's. Yeah.
Do you think Marquetta's was the little the
toy
tiny
piano
keyboard at the toy piano?
Yeah.
That she's playing?
Yeah, that was great.
So
That
funny.
was really, really fun. I also loved Anton, the engineer.
Yeah.
That the fact that he, that is also my experience with engineers, like production engineers, is when they really like something, they say, "That was good." They're just very low key, and that was about the level of enthusiasm you'd get.
Although I wrote down in my notes, I'm like, I feel like this is kind of a trope. Like, if anything in this movie is the tropiest, it's an engineer when musicians come in, and the engineer, I mean, he even says, "Oh, I've got to do this thing with these this crazy crowd," or whatever
Oddballs.
he says, these oddballs. And then as he's reading his magazine, he kicks his feet up, and then as they start singing, he kind of looks and listens. It's like, okay, a trope, and then his comments afterward, like, "Did you write that? Wow!"
Yeah.
Like, it was so low key. But I'm like, okay, I feel like that happens a lot in these movies with musicians. The other one that came to mind, which was maybe it's a little different, but it's "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," when they sing that song, and the guy's like, just, I don't know. It's funny. It's kind of tropey. It works though, because it plays honestly, I guess.
I was doing a studio photo shoot with a musician here in Portland, and we were in the studio, and I was clicking away, and I really liked working with this musician because I thought his music was gangbusters, and I listened to it all the time on the demos, and I was very excited for him. And I went into this session with the session engineer, and I expected everybody to be as glowing as I was. And the engineer, it felt like he had all of his emotion just like surgically removed, because I'm hearing this music that is transcendent, and he's like, "Okay, you want to do it again?
Yeah.
Is that good for you? Do you care?" I mean, like, because it was just like nothing. So it is a trope for a reason, I think, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, it's a good movie. I think it starts off this series well. A lot of good songs, good soundtrack. I really enjoyed it. Any last things from you about this one?
I'm just excited I'm really excited to watch the next two now that we've watched this one again, because I think this has been, I've seen the other two more than I had seen once. And I'm interested in sort of tracing the DNA. My memory of Begin Again is such that I don't remember enough of it, but this movie feels really spiritually akin to Sing Street. And I'm excited to see what a mature Once looks like in Sing Street clothes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never saw Begin Again until just a few years ago, and so it's very new to me. But interestingly, I remember a little about it, so I'm curious to
That might
check
be
it out
telling.
again and see.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I really loved it. So
It sounds like you hated it, but whatever. We'll
Worst
see
film I've ever
next
seen.
week. Yeah.
okay. All right, we'll be right back. But first, our credits.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM. Engineering by Andy Nelson. Music by Dimitrix, Wonderland, Lewis Island, Oriole Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show. Sequels and remakes, Andy. I haven't seen any sequels and remakes. Have I missed a lot of them?
You maybe have missed the only one, and that is, of course, the stage musical version of this. The New York Theater Workshop is where it first was seen back in 2011, just a few years after this. And then it ended up going on to Broadway in 2012 and won 8 of the 11 Tonys that it was nominated for, including Best Musical. So I take it you've never seen that version of this.
I have never seen that version of this. I have never listened to the cast recording of this.
Wow.
It
I'm
fascinates
surprised.
me. Yeah, me too. Me too. I stand before you surprised.
I mean, you knew it was a musical.
I did.
Okay, so it's really your fault.
Yeah, no, no one else is here.
Yeah. What's interesting is that it sounds like, if I had read it correctly, I think it's just a cast of the 2 people, and the orchestra plays like the rest of the cast, which is interesting. Like just using the musicians as the musicians, Like, I don't think they're speaking or anything.
I was going to say, are they like
yeah.
the orchestra's talking?
Yeah, I don't think that they are doing that. But I think,
Okay.
I don't know, it piques my curiosity. It does make me want to check it out at some point to see how it
Me
plays.
too.
Yeah. Wait. Sorry, I said that wrong. The music is, the cast is the orchestra. That's what I meant to say. So there is no actual orchestra. It's just the people who are in the cast. They are the ones who do all the music for all the musicals.
Yes. They're
That
all
makes more sense.
musicians.
That makes so
is
much
what we're
more
saying.
sense.
They're like the band.
I'm just gonna stop.
It's kind of
talking
like
now.
the movie where all the actors are also musicians.
Funny how that all works. Yeah.
This is amazing. It's all coming clear to me now. All right. How did it do at award season? As good as it did at the Tonys?
It actually did really well for itself. 25 wins with 31 other nominations. At the Oscars, you might remember this is one of the sweetest moments at the Oscars. It won Best Original Song for Falling Slowly. Glenn and Marquetta came out and performed it. It was the year that Jon Stewart was hosting. And after they won, Glenn got to speak, and then they started playing the music, and Marquetta didn't get to say anything, and they just walked off. And then Jon Stewart, at his next moment, actually came out and said, you know what, we need to give her a chance to say something. And so he brought them out, and she got to actually say something, which was really sweet. And I thought that was a nice gesture. And interestingly, she was the youngest, and I think still is, the youngest person to win an Oscar in a non-acting category. So, yeah.
Because by then, what would she have been, 21?
It would have been the 2007 awards. I don't know when her birthday is, but she was born in 88, so she was 19 at the time of the Oscars.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. Anyway, over at the British Independent Film Awards, it was nominated for Best Foreign Independent Film, but lost to The Lives of Others. At the Grammys, it was nominated for Best Compilation Soundtrack Album for a Motion Picture, Television, or Other Visual Media, but lost to The Beatles' In Love. And it was nominated for Best Song Written for Motion Picture, Television, or Other Visual Media, Falling Slowly, but lost to Love You I Do from Dreamgirls. At the Irish Film and Television Awards, it was nominated for Best Music in Film, but lost to The Tiger's Tale. At the Dublin Film Critics Circle Awards, it was nominated for Best Irish Film, but lost to Garage. John Carney was nominated for Best Breakthrough Artist, but lost to Saoirse Ronan in Atonement. And at the 2009 Dublin Film Critics Circle Awards, it was nominated for Best Irish Film of the Decade, but lost to a tie between Hunger and Adam and Paul. So, I mean, there were a lot of wins around song, best independent film, things like that. I just wanted to look at like the musical ones and the Irish ones. So that's where I largely focused.
Okay. Well, this is where we get into some real excitement for you, which is around the money, because I have a feeling we're starting a whole new, we're turning a leaf. This is the year of the snake, and we're about to go into the year of the horse as we record this. We're going to shed that old skin of not being able to find anything about numbers, and we're going to ride confidently into the new year where Andy gets to research budgets and find answers to budgets. How did this do at the box office?
You're very lucky because this was independent, and I wasn't completely sure I'd actually find any numbers for this one. But in fact, I did. For Carney's film, he had spent years developing this with the Irish Film Board. Then it was given a micro budget of 112,000 euros, 3/4 of which was from the Irish Film Board. And that's 160,000 in today's dollars, which is 160,000 US dollars, which is just under 245,000 in today's dollars. After a premiere at the Summer Film School in 2006, the film officially debuted at Sundance 2007, then had a very successful festival run. It opened limited on 2 screens May 16th, 2007, opposite 28 Weeks Later, Georgia Rule, Delta Farce, and The X, before expanding eventually to 150 screens. It would get as high as 12th place at the box office. All in all, the movie did incredibly well, going on to earn $9.4 million domestically and $13.5 million internationally for a total gross of $35.1 million in today's dollars. That would land the film with an adjusted profit per finished minute of $405,000 and means it earned back 143 times its budget. Great way to start this series.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad, Carney.
Not too shabby, not too shabby.
Hell of a flick.
Yeah.
Well, I am thrilled to have talked about it. I'm thrilled that you actually appear to like it. And that this entire little spiritual trilogy of Carney's music movies isn't going to be a train wreck. Because we just have to fight all the time. And I love to revisit these songs. This was just a treat.
Yeah, I think I probably heard the soundtrack to this a lot more than watched the film. I think I'd only seen the film once. And so now I'll have to scratch it out off my Blu-ray copy, and I'll have to write twice on the cover.
Have you been nursing that joke for the last hour?
Just waiting for my shot. Oh, yes. All right. Well, that's it for today's conversation, everybody. Next week, we are looking at Carney's studio follow-up, Begin Again. And we'll be right back for our ratings.
Letterboxd, Andy. Letterboxd.com/thenextreel. That's what we're talking about. It's where you can find our HQ page for all the movies that we've talked about on this show. It's where we apply our stars and hearts. Rules are any stars have to come from other movies. Andy never agrees to this rule. What are you going to do?
This I really enjoyed. I mean, it's definitely a quieter, simpler film that I remembered, but it still is just so sweet and honest. 4 stars and a heart. That's where I sit with this one.
I'm 4 stars and a heart, too. And I want to leave a little bit of headroom because even though I think this movie does succeed in all the ways that it needs to succeed on its own, and I do believe that there's some shortcomings in just the raw story. It's story light, but it's also, I think these 3 movies are in conversation with one another. And this is not my favorite part of that conversation, I don't think.
Interesting.
So
I'm curious to see where we move forward because I liked how we started with this. I think that he's off to a good start with these musical films.
For sure.
All right. Well, that averages out to 4 stars and a heart, which you can find on our account at Letterboxd at The Next Reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film, and you can find Pete there at Pete Wright. So what did you think about Once? We would love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel over in our Discord community where we will be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins. Oons. Ay, Chihuahua. All right, Once. Let's see. What do people have to say about this film?
Oh, I've got one from Adam Bolt. Don't take it.
Adam Bolt.
Dibs.
Okay, I've got mine too.
Letterboxd giveth Andrew.
As Letterboxd always doeth.
All right. Which way did you go?
I landed at 4 stars and a heart.
Oh, okay. Higher than me. Go ahead.
Higher than you. I went with Holly, who has this to say. And to think I've been putting off watching this for years because the poster looks like a Hallmark Christmas movie.
You know what? I'm about to cheat. I just
true.
noticed a second one. I'm going to do 2. The first one is a 3 star and a heart from Adam Bolt, who says, I can't believe this is the first movie to be filmed on a Nokia phone. Which I find delightful. But the second is 5 stars and a heart from D. Selwyn's, who says, imagine meeting a guy and asking him to play a song he's written, and he plays Bloody Falling Slowly. Like, that hits me so hard right in the chest, because I've written some songs and none of them are falling slowly. And I worry that I'm the guy who would play one of my own songs if asked. That would be embarrassing.
That would be funny. So funny.
All right. Thanks, Letterboxd.
All right. And that's it. No comments. So no post-show chit-chat
So
today.
many highs and yes, though, in the chat.
Yes, indeed. Lots of
So
that.
many highs. Hi, everybody.
And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.